Hello everybody, it's Dimitris again. Sorry for the minute ago, there was something wrong with the sound. So, okay, hopefully this is okay now. Right, so this is the second session, and in the previous one we just went around and checked how to use the audit capability of Google Chrome, and yeah, we were playing a little bit with the template, the default template of Joomla, which is Protostar. Right, so this time we're gonna do something different. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy Protostar to another template. Let's call it awesome. Why not? Because at the end of the day, we are awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna delete almost everything. Almost. And then in the index.php, no, first of all, we need to change a few things in the XML, which actually defines the template. So let's name it awesome. Version is okay. Yeah, also you can put whatever you want here. Copyright, blah blah. Yeah. Maybe we'll leave a description here. Something is a good thing. Okay, and we have everything. I'm gonna remove. No, I'm not gonna remove. I'm just gonna remove the languages because yeah, why not? And then I'm gonna remove also all the config part because we're gonna do it later on. So yeah, basically that's it. And then yeah, so once you do this, all the changes in the XML, you can go in the backend, manage, no, it's discover, and you just see the awesome, it's template, version 1, date unknown, author unknown, blah blah, just install it. And then we go to templates. We say that awesome should be the default. And then in the menu assignment, we assign everything to awesome. So if we go back, it's almost the same. Probably we're missing something due to some CSS part, but yeah, anyway. So to have a measurement here, to measure against, I'm gonna audit this template. Come on. And yeah, performance is 61, 3.7 seconds for the first contentful pane, first meaningful pane, almost 4 seconds. Time to interactive 4.6. This is not good. As you see, the white boxes over here is the time that nothing happens in the user's response. So he presses the URL or clicks on a link and he waits for 4 seconds. Yeah, why not? Right, so what we're gonna do here is, first of all, we'll go to the index, and I'm gonna remove actually all the PHP part, all of it. maybe not all of it. Let's leave a few things here. Yeah. Again. So this part we don't need it. Template.js, no, we don't need that. We're gonna leave all this part. It's CSS related. User CSS, blah blah CSS. User scripts, etc. No. Yeah, all this calculation about the spans, it can remain here. This is calculations about the logo file. Let's leave it for the time being, and yeah, let's see if something is broken after these changes. No, the page remains the same. Right, so one thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new folder, and we're gonna call it logic. It's pretty common, and inside this folder I'm gonna copy one file from libraries, source, document, renderer, HTML, and that one is gonna be head. So I'm pasting this one, and yeah, actually let me rename this to new. Right, and let's call this new renderer. Right, why not? And why not? Or maybe, yeah. Okay, step by step. So I did this, and then I'm gonna do require once current directory dot slash logic slash new dot php. So actually I'm just reading this file, and yeah, this is the one part of this, and the other one is that I'm gonna change this to new. Right, so if everything works, that means that we have now, we're overriding the head, and now we're using our own thing, which is this. And just to make sure, yeah, if you see right now I'm here and I can inspect things. So yeah, this is debugging on PHP Storm. Yeah, this time I'm using PHP Storm because we're gonna do some more PHP related things, so it's more appropriate, let's say. So yeah, just removed the extra thing. Yeah. Why? Right, so document again. So let's replace all the instances of document. Not all of them. Right, so hold on. Right, so let's go right from the beginning. Right. So I'm just replacing something here because we already have this, and yeah, we can just remove this bit of code which is just useless, really useless. So yes, and it still works without this extra function which was calling the other function. Just yeah, it's some of the weird code that is happening in Joomla. Right, so I'm gonna create one more file. I'm gonna call it metas.php, and I'm gonna copy everything from this file, but this time I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna rename this first of all to metas. Alright. And yeah, we're gonna keep here only the meta tags. And to do that, actually we care only for this part. Oops. Document links. Right, so everything else that is related to CSS and JavaScript and all the other part that is happening after this point is useless for us right now. So, okay, to explain a little bit better what I'm trying to do here is this part up to here without the style sheet, like from here to here, is just the meta tags, and I want to separate these as in a different class and then have the CSS independent and then have the JavaScript also independent. So we have better control of what is happening and where, when and where is happening in the template. Right, so we used to have this new, now I'm gonna call this metas. Now be careful, the page is gonna be broken, right? I wasn't expecting that broken. Right, okay, so why do we have array? Metas render, right. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, let's see where this thing is breaking. Right, unable to load renderer class. So, okay. Yes, makes sense. Because I'm saying load the render metas, but I never actually said to the PHP that I need also to load that file. So yeah, this is what's happening. All right, so right now it's gonna be broken, but although it's broken, we still have all the metas, and that was the point right from the beginning. So we have the metas, And next part is we're gonna create a new file called styles.php. Okay, so I'm gonna have again copy paste all this because it's far easier than typing all this stuff. Right, so we don't care about the right now here we don't care about the scripts part, so I'm gonna go all the way where the script stuff is. I'm gonna remove that. Right. We have also the script options. Okay, let's remove that and also put this in its own place. I'm gonna leave everything else right here as is, but I'm gonna remove all this part which is about meta tags, and we already have this in the other file. So this file actually is gonna be a lot smaller. Also this event, we already triggered this event, so we don't need to trigger it once again. One time is good enough. I think this one is not needed here as well. Right, so we have this renderer. We have to name this renderer as styles, right? And no, this is protostar. I'm not looking for this one. Right, and I'm gonna just load the renderer as well, and then load the CSS. I'm gonna load the CSS at the bottom, and this is something that we're gonna talk about this in a bit. But yeah, let's see how this thing goes. And yes, we still have almost the same page. We don't have any JavaScript at the moment, but we have nicely rendered page without any JavaScript or any problems CSS related. Right. So actually, for the styles, the part is that I want to do something here, and what I want to do is instead of returning this buffer, which let's see first of all what this buffer means. It's gonna be just this link and this style. This is what we were expecting to find in this buffer, and yes, it's the link with a tab in front of it, and then it's the style with that class in it. Right, so what I want to do here is be a little bit more creative. Right, so I'm gonna say buffer. So again, the idea is that what we want to do exactly is to put everything inside the tag a no-script tag, and this is what it will look like. No script with the class equals CSS lazy load. I will explain to you later on why am I using a class here. It's not about styling, but I'm gonna use this this class here to do something interesting. So the first part is this, and the last part that we want to do is this one, /no script, right? And yeah, at the moment, let's see what we have. Yeah, basically what we have is something broken because the CSS, this part is interesting. This part is in the no script, and in the no script means that it cannot be included, right? So like this, I think this will be better. Right, so the no script does contain everything, but the bad thing is that we cannot do anything with the no script unless we run this with no script. That means that our browser needs to have like no JavaScript, and then you say, oops, not this. And yeah. Accept. Right, so this is with no JavaScript, and as you see with no JavaScript, actually this renders pretty nicely. So what we did here is that without, we're having the link, but this link and this style is working only in browsers that don't have any JavaScript capabilities. The point is that we want to make this also behave for browsers that have JavaScript capabilities, and that's most of the browsers out there. So this is progressive enhancement. So we had that part, and now I'm gonna do like some inline script here, /script, right? And in this script, in this script, what I want actually to do inside this script is something really easy, nothing too weird. So I want to, first of all, and this is a good thing to have always, to do always, do IIFE. That means immediately returning function. That means that you declare a function and you put whatever you want in this function, and then immediately you invoke it. And this is good because everything that you put in this function is not leaking as global variables and stuff like that. So this is good good practice. Right, so I'm gonna have a var, let's say contents is equal to document.get not query selector no script dot. If you remember, I I put a class there, and I said that this is going to be useful later on, and this is where I'm going to use it. So we getting this. Right. Interesting. Okay. So why is this? Right, so we have the contents. Next part is that we want to parse this content. So yeah, this is how we do it. Let's just copy paste things here. It's easier than me typing because I'm useless at typing. Right, so first of all, we're gonna do calculations only if this part exists, right? So we're getting the inner text, and then we're gonna say for elms dot for each, and we're gonna have a function here with the element and right. So in this function we're getting the element, and now we want to check if the element is something along these lines. So if the element is link, right, this is not right. This is the weird part with PHP Store. It keeps adding, it keeps escaping everything for some reason, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, so let me just remove that. Right, so okay, and then we're gonna have as last part of the if statement. If we right, so what happens here is that we run through the array of elements, and we say if the element has tag name lowercase link, then we create an element link, and we do all copy paste basically. If it is style, then we get the inner text and we just put it there, and then we just append the child to the document head. Right, so hopefully if everything is correct, it's not correct. Unexpected no string. Right, okay, that's interesting. Right, okay, so I know what's happening. Okay, so that's why it didn't like that part. Okay, so this one needs to be actually skipped. Okay, so let's do this like that. Right. So I'm gonna have another variable here. Let's say script is equal to JS/JS. So yeah, this is another way to get JavaScript. And yeah, basically now I can say this, so it's double quotes. It's basic PHP part here, but yeah, sometimes you have to redo things. Right, so right now we are, no, hold on, we're still with no JavaScript. Right, with JavaScript we have an error, okay. Can't find parse HTML, right, okay, interesting. Okay, so where is parse HTML? I forgot to do this, okay. Right, so, okay, we are missing something, that's why it's not working. So we have also to have this parse HTML part, which what does is it goes into the fragment that we're given and it creates an element div, and then it appends everything inside the div and then returns all the elements, all the children elements of that div that we just created. Nothing too fancy, nothing too weird. Right, so okay, let's check again how we're doing. Yes, that's good. So we still have, if we go here and say, yeah, we still have the CSS, and the good thing here is that if you see how things happening, is that the CSS is loaded later on. I don't know how you see here the yeah. How do we see the waterfall here? Alright, let's go to Chrome, because why not? Right, so with Chrome you see that the template is happening later on. The template.css fetching is happening later on, it's not happening immediately. And this is exactly what we wanted, right? So if you go back to audit and see what's the gain, if there is any gain with all this that we did, actually there is a very, very interesting thing here that we went down to under 1 second, and the total interactive is 1.5. But again, we don't have JavaScript yet in the document. That's why it's so low. Right, but yeah, as it is right now, we have 100 here, which is great, right? Okay, so one thing here that it's a bit tricky is that the first meaningful paint, it's gonna be without any JavaScript. So the first meaningful paint, actually it's gonna be something like, okay, where is the index? It's gonna be something like this. So this is our first meaningful paint. That means that our first meaningful paint will not have any CSS. And that was by design. What I'm trying to do here is that I don't want to load Bootstrap. I don't want to have Bootstrap in the critical path. We can load it later on, but never ever load it in the critical path, because Bootstrap is heavy and it delays the page on a median mobile phone by 1 second. So the one thing is that you want to do obviously this, because this delays and you get 100%, and then you have styled the page. But for any reason, if somebody is on a bad network and they fetch the HTML, but the CSS is delayed to be fetched, that means that they're gonna see a very, very ugly page. Actually, it's not ugly, it's just HTML, unstyled HTML. If you're okay with this, like the first meaningful pane being unstyled, then you're done. You can just copy paste this to your template. Everything I'm doing here, I'm gonna put it in one repo. Like this is gonna be like step 2. Step 1 wasn't there any code to put in the GitHub. So yeah, so there's gonna be a repo. I'm gonna paste it. I'm gonna paste the link in the description of the channel or of the video, whatever. And you can just download it and do whatever you want with it. Yeah, it's open source. Right, so that's the main idea of what we're gonna do with the styles. But the problem is that I'm not happy to know that the page is gonna render without any styling, even for those few of those, or a lot of those, depending on the network, that don't have good network connectivity, or they have really bad mobile or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create one more thing. So this is styles, and the new thing is I'm gonna call it, actually I'm gonna just copy paste this, and I'm gonna say styles inline. Right, okay. Styles inline. Right. So styles inline right now is the same as the other one, but actually I don't want it to be the same. So again, first of all, let's add the right things into the index.html. Where is the index? Right. So styles inline also here. Right. So for the inline styles, I'm gonna have them not at the end of the page, but directly after the meta tags. Right. Styles inline. It's gonna be this one. Styles this one. Right. So here's the trick. What we really want to do here. Okay, why do we have these tag IDs? Okay, so I just found out that this shouldn't be here. Okay, right. So what we want to do in the inline styles is that we want to go through all the style sheets, and yeah, this is the part, and we have some attributes. So let me just run this to have an idea of what we're trying to do here. So Right, we have some attributes. So the attributes is an array, and in the array there is an option. And as you see in this option, there are like few flags, like version, relative, path only, detect browser, detect debug. Right, I'm gonna add another one, which will be like critical. And if the critical is true, then I'm gonna do something here. Otherwise, this is wrong. Right. Otherwise, we're gonna do it in the I'm sorry. So basically, this line is completely wrong. It should be here. It should be here. Anyway, right. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna check if, like you see, there are a lot of conditionals here, and for each attribute, blah 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 blah. So I'm gonna say if right. Okay, let's copy paste code because yeah, it's easier. So basically what we want to do is this part. Instead of all this that we're doing, this is inline. Right, so and also let's have something here without this one, or maybe let's put it out. Okay, so we're doing a style, and then we go through the style sheets and check if the attributes is set, if there is an attribute critical, and if the attribute critical is equal to true, then we're gonna get the contents of that file and then unset this style sheet, and basically that's it. And yeah, 2 more lines here and we're done. Yes. Right, so let's see if something breaks. Hopefully, yeah. Right, so yeah, okay. I think I can simulate this in Chrome. So there is network, and I can go to slow and 6 times slowness. Right, so this time you see how the page is rendering. This is the first page I was talking about. It's the one without the style sheet. And until you fetch the style sheet, things are not rendered correctly. And yeah, that's the point. And what we're trying to do here is do exactly that. Make also the page look nice on the first view. Right. One thing I want to check what is the home page here. It's a category blog. Okay. I wish I could do like choose layout here I wish there was a button here, create a new layout override. Instead of that, I have to do it myself. Right, so the most important part with templating is overrides. And all this part is actually based on the overrides, which is the true way to do anything interesting in Joomla. Right, so we created, I'm not sure which one was category or categories. Anyway, right, so you create the HTML overrides, which is categories and category, and I have no clue what this is. Okay, so let's go and find out what exactly is this menu. It's category blog, right? So it's using com content view category, right? Okay, so we're going back to our editor because it's far easier. So we're using the category, and the thing is it's blog, right? So and this is how we can do something interesting. So we can do style seed here, and for the style seed I'm gonna say I'm gonna put the style seed directly here right now, just to showcase that the idea is working. And I'm gonna have, let's say, body background color to light gray, light yellow. Yeah, why not? Right. Okay. So I'm gonna say load the style, which the name is test.css, and I'm gonna say there are some options here. I'm gonna say that I want this to be relative, I think it's auto. And then the part that we care, it's the critical, which needs to be set as true. Right, so I'm not sure if it's gonna look for that particular. Right, so it didn't load. Oh, it did load. Right. So okay, let's see what's happening. So once we hit the page, it's fetching the HTML. It renders the HTML directly, and then it also applies that the style sheet. Right. Okay. It's not exactly what we wanted, but yeah. I mean, it's just to showcase that this is how it will work out. And if we inspect the right, okay, so that's interesting. That's right. So actually the style didn't go in the place that needed to go, and this is probably mostly because I'm pretty much this needs to be in HTML style sheet relative order. Okay, let's do this like that, and right. So right now I'm just appending this to thing here. I just want to check what this returns. Right, interesting. Yes, var is something for JavaScript, not for PHP. Yes. Right, so it needs to be in templates awesome css.test.css. Right, so the path is correct. Okay, so maybe there is something wrong here. Yes, there is something wrong. I think the attributes are not exactly attributes here. Okay, let's figure out where this thing fails. So, what attributes do we have here? Right, so it's attributes options. Okay. Right, okay. Let's not go through the loop. And that's the fun of debugging, which is not fun at all. Right, so we have the performance here again as very slow. And let's see what happens. Oops. Yeah, okay, I forgot to. Okay, let's try again. It's not exactly what I was expecting. Right, so style is still empty. Interesting. Okay. Right. Let's see. So the attribute is okay. Options are set. Right. This is the template. It's right. So it doesn't have anything. Okay. Why? Yes. Okay. Got some. Right. Okay. So what is this? The first one is test, and we want to see if yes, the actual thing got inlined, which is what we wanted. Right. So yeah, I'm gonna simulate this again. Right. So once the page is fetched, the inline CSS is immediately applied. So the background color light yellow is immediately applied. That means that if you want to somehow resemble the first contentful paint to something closely to your website, that means that you have to do two things: is to create overrides for everything and use this command like html styles it the name of the file if you place everything in the CSS of your template, or the relative file if you're putting everything in the media folder, which is the place that you should be putting everything, not in the template. But yeah, it's your template, it's your website, you can do it any way you want it. So relative is something that you want to have here because it's not the absolute path, and critical is the most critical part here because this dictates the code that this one should not be in the bottom end, like this one, which is the no script. As we see, there is also an inline script here, but it's totally different than the one that I put there. So yeah, basically that's the idea, and so it's down to your willingness to make the first contentful paint as close or as perfect as the normal. You have to be careful that this code should be minimal, and by minimal I mean you shouldn't go to, let's say, in the size of bootstrap.css. It will be a lot less, like 5-10 kilobytes maximum should be something that you're looking for. Yeah, basically right now what we have is something that performs quite okay. I'm quite happy, although the first contentful paint is really ugly. I don't mind, but yeah, the idea is that we have a website that its first meaningful paint on a really slow network. Okay, maybe this was way too slow, right? Let's do the editing in the usual way, in the way that we did the old ones, because this is not fair. Right, so the protostar used to have first contentful paint at 4 seconds, 4 point something, and with this simple trick, we have first of all the ability to style differently the first contentful paint, and yeah, this is interesting. Okay, so maybe I should turn off debugger because yeah, that makes zero sense. Okay. So yeah, what I was saying is that you have the ability to have a first meaningful, contentful paint at some good timing at 1.6 instead of 4, 1.8, and time to interactive 2.17, down from 4 point something. But as you see, the white, what used to be a lot of white boxes here, right now is totally is better. And as you see, we have 99, but yeah, again, we don't have JavaScript, so that's also another point. But yeah, this is the second part. So what we did is a recap here. what we did is we created a new template. We created also some new renderers for inline styles, for lazy loaded styles. That's gonna happen after the first meaningful paint. This new is nothing, and we also have a dedicated renderer for the meta tags. So what we're missing right now is something that will take care of the JavaScript, and then the only thing that we have to do is go and style whatever needs to be styled for the first contentful paint. Right, so this is gonna be the next one. The next one is I'm gonna talk about how we're dealing with JavaScript loading without breaking jQuery, because jQuery seems to be still very important for some developers. You have to go away from jQuery. jQuery is dying. Yeah, I said it. Yeah. Okay, so join me next Monday. Till then, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and yeah, I'll see you next Monday. See ya. Bye.